Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I wanted to come on today and talk a little bit about the energies. I know a lot of us have been feeling a lot of sort of density and heaviness. And I did a reading yesterday, and the woman described it like she felt kind of numb. And she's like, I'm normally a really happy person and really positive, and you just felt this numbness. And I have been feeling the same way, just kind of flat. I just feel kind of flat. Like I can tell that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. It's just like, it's almost like when you're pregnant and all your energy is going towards building your baby. It's like a lot of our energy is going towards this clearing. And so a lot of these clearings that are going on. So a lot of exhaustion and a lot of just feeling like, just a little bit flat. Like I can still be uplifted and find beauty in nature, but often when I'm in nature, I get like super blissed out and like all the stars align, and it's just, and even that's felt a little flat for me lately. And so, what I'm noticing for myself and a lot of other people that I'm talking to is there's like a whole level of clearing around self-doubt and not being good enough and not being enough. And what's really interesting is, so there's a lot of different levels always to everything, but I think what I feel to share right now is there's a friend of mine on Facebook, and I think probably a lot of you are friends with her as well, so you might have seen this post, but she was saying about how she was having these scary dreams about neural implants, and she's like, what the heck? And immediately I was like, oh, this is good, because when I've had dreams like that, it's like whenever, and the way I just feel in life in general, when we see something, when we're aware of something, especially something that's hidden and usually, kind of behind the scenes, like we all have these overlays and these sort of implants and, hijacks and conditionings and, rogue signals that become code in our bodies, and all these things that's happened over the eons, we're not aware of it. So the fact that we're seeing it now in our dream space, it's like it's being exposed. And so I felt really excited about that. And then that same night, as I was falling asleep, so I was falling into sleep, and I was, I was out. I wasn't awake. I was asleep, but it wasn't a dream. It was like a visual. And I saw this woman, and she was literally defragging. It's like a computer screen that would glitch. She was glitching. Okay, so I was like, whoa. And it had the energy of that. I'm jumping in with a very heavy topic, but that's just what came out first, because there's a lot to say, and I was like, I don't know how to get this all out. So just trusting the flow. But anyway, there's a feeling to those overlays and a feeling to that frequency, where it's just weird and it's creepy. And so I know that frequency really well, because my daughter and I have both had a lot of experience and trials with that, and unplugging from that and understanding and stuff like that. So immediately I was like, okay, there is an overlay here. There is an energy that I'm feeling that's, it felt like kind of like an onslaught onto me, like an attack, almost like when you become aware of something, then it tries to throw something at you as well. But like what I always talk about is like everything, what a lot of us always talk about is everything's in service to the light. So, on the one hand, yes, it was a sort of rogue signal that was coming at me. But what I had learned from a dear shaman friend that's helped me out over the years, and she also has a lot of that sort of what we might call targeted individual situation going on, the neural mapping and the brain to skull. And some people have it really, really strong. My daughter had a big attack with that. And she's gotten out of it. She understands it. She knows how to work with it. And it's hardly there anymore. And, again, a lot of people have degrees of that. They're just not aware of it. And it can be something that kind of limits. Okay, so I'm getting to that. So anyway, so what this woman had taught us was to just send like a heart, like literally draw a heart and send it on top of that image, and it just explodes it. It just, because the energy, the frequency of love and of the heart. So I'll do an infinity, and then I do a heart and I throw it on and it dissolves. But so then another one reappeared, and this time it was a man, and so they were really focusing on his eyes, and so there was his eyes, and then there was like almost like a cyborg, like there was this like other eye that came on top of his eye, so it kept showing it like being on top of his eye and then going off of his eye. So there was like a defragging energy going on with that too. So I felt like I was getting a glimpse at these programs, and that they're literally defragging. So I was talking about that in the last reading. If you haven't seen that, I was taught, or if you have, I was talking about that man, that sort of false light situation that I was in, and how when we see something that has a distortion that's pulling power to it and pulling energy to it in a not harmonious, not integrated, integral integrity way with integrity, then when we see it, it's almost like we tag it, right? And it starts to lose its power because it has the energy of being seen in it, and then that ripples out through the collective, not just for that person, but for the collective that's holding that energy as well. So that's what I was feeling with these programs, or these neural implants, or that was the way that she had perceived it. And so, everything that falls within that category. And what's really, really interesting is, along with that heaviness and the clearing that a lot of us are feeling, is, I don't know if I said this yet, but the self-doubt and the feeling that we're not enough. Okay, so and I know a lot of us have had that, our whole lives, and it might have ruled us, where we held ourselves back, or we couldn't bring our energy forward, or we manifested situations that kept us small because we were afraid to be big, and all these things. It's been like a lifelong journey. But what it feels like now is a lot of those feelings, even if you haven't been living in them, even if you've been putting yourself forward and having confidence and flowing with life and all this, it's like another round of it coming up again. And even a friend of mine, she said she was clearing in the middle of the night, and she said the summary of it was, "I'm shit." And I was like, oh, I was doing that too. And she's like, yeah, but I never feel that way. So even people that it doesn't really come up for because they have a certain level of mastery or good relationship with themselves, or just a different journey, it's like it's coming up for them as well. And so to me, it's an indicator that these programs that have been in place through conditioning, or through, if you want to go into that fourth dimensional level, not everybody is aware of that or wants to be aware of that. And you don't have to be, but it's like, it is there, right? So whichever level you're looking at it on, even if it's just you against you battling yourself, it's like these the hold that those type of neural pathways have on us are loosening. And so this time, as we revisit those feelings, we're able to clear them really, really quickly. And so for me, I had this thing come up where I was like, it started with, like, I was just seeing other people that I was like, oh, other women, and I'm like, gosh, they're so feminine and they're so flowy, and that's so beautiful, and like, I should be more feminine and flowy. And I am feminine and flowy, but I've also like been to hell and back. Like, I've been to battle. So I have this like ghetto, like witch bitch, like biker chick thing going on as well, just because I have a fighter in me. I have a warrior. I have a, I have a lot of fire. And so, but yeah, I was like kind of comparing myself and feeling bad about myself. And I was like, that's weird. Where is this coming from? And I couldn't really shake it. So I was just kind of like, okay, let's just keep going here, and then there was another thing, where I had like people in my life that are normally really supportive and, good relationship. And they were kind of coming at me in a way that was like, I was feeling like I wasn't doing enough, or I wasn't like showing up enough. And I was like, oh gosh, and it was really tweaking me. So I was tweaked and triggered. And then eventually I realized, oh, okay, they're mirrors to that place within myself that still feels that way. So all I have to do is come back home to myself and love myself and feel enough and know that the boundaries that I set in my life are for me, because only I know what I need, and just to align with yourself. And then I knew that outer situation would dissolve, and it did. There was no more weird energy or anything like that. And so around that time, in the middle of the night, again, sharing my story, because it's my version of this energy, and so there are codes in it, and you'll relate in the ways that you're relating, right? So I woke up in the middle of the night, and I felt a heaviness, and I felt kind of depressed, and I felt and I had another friend that was talking about that, she just feeling sort of hopeless about her life and her home, and like all the things she needed to do, and like, oh, it's never, nothing's gonna work out, and she moved out of it. But it was that type of energy that a lot of us are feeling, just sort of depressed, heavy type of energy. And yet I could feel that it was like, it's almost like it wasn't mine. Well, it's not ours. It is an overlay, and it is a neural pathway that got developed over time through conditioning and through hijack and through conditioning in all the different levels. And so it's not ours, right? It's not ours. And so I could feel that, but I couldn't get out of it. And I kept being like I'd go out and I'd be in nature and I'd feel pretty good. And then I'd come back to my house and I'd be like, oh my God, like my house needs an exorcism, and I'm working. I brought my singing bowl, my big singing bowl out here in the middle of the room. And so I've been using that. I have my Andaras around. I've been like trying to work the energy and like clear, and it's just not working, because it's really just we have to do this work. We can't just, like sage it out. We got to go through this process. And so anyway, I woke up and I felt this heaviness, but in the background, I kept hearing the soul knows, the soul knows, the soul knows. And it just kept saying it over and over again until I heard it and acknowledged it. And it's like, oh, right. my soul knows. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's always known exactly what she's doing, and she's got this. Like my little human that's gotten really fucked up, like all of us, in this. If you're on this planet, your wires are crisscrossed, and we've been doing the work, or enough people have been doing the work that it's starting to unravel, and we have all the cosmic support, where we're at in the photon belt and the cycle of the ages, and this is the time where we're coming out of that. We're coming out of that, but none of us have escaped, the spell here. It's why we're here. We're here to remember and awaken from the spell. And so, yeah. So it was just this beautiful, like nighttime reminder of like your soul's been at the helm this entire time. So there's also this energy, and I'm seeing other people coming to this as well. A lot of people writing their kind of like life stories, like on Facebook, or just sharing, like friends sharing, and just kind of acknowledging, like, yeah. I was a drug addict, or, I fell into violence, or I fell into like a cult mentality where I completely lost myself, or whatever it is, or I was a straight up gangster, whatever it was, just kind of being like, yep, that was part of my journey. And, there was a reason why I did that. And so a lot of us being able to see, oh, this needed to happen so that I could understand this. And this needed to happen so that I could unravel this. And this couldn't have happened before this because I needed to do this. And so seeing it in our own lives and seeing it in the lives of others, and just seeing this grand symphony of perfection in life, and feeling that safety and feeling that surrender. And so that your soul knows, our souls know, our humans don't. Our wires are crisscrossed, but we can trust. And so it was really, really beautiful and really helpful. And then last night, so I have a friend who has also another friend who has also been feeling a lot of this and a lot of the exhaustion. And so we were talking before bed, and I was like, oh, ask to be put in a healing chamber, like an Arcturian healing chamber. Somewhere along the way, I started doing this, where I would just ask. Well, I noticed in sessions that the Arcturians often do that kind of psychic surgery, where they'll the energy work sessions that I do, they'll come in when there's that kind of psychic surgery, and they'll kind of lift one up and put them in this healing frequency. So somewhere along the way, I got the idea, probably from somebody else, but I don't remember who, to ask for that before bed, to be put in these healing chambers. And I hardly ever remember to do it, but I think there's a divine timing of when it's time, and you kind of like. So if you want to try this, it's like, because lots of times I'm like, oh, I want to do that, and then I forget. But then there's a time where I think of it, and I remember, almost like they say, hey, we're going to help you tonight. And then, but you have to play your part to be like, I would like to be helped, because it's free will and we have to ask, right? But they whisper it. So anyway, I said to my friend, do that. It works. And I was like, I'm going to do it too. And then I forgot. And so last night I remembered, and I asked to be taken up into the Arcturian healing chamber for rebalancing, for recalibrating, to just, I think it was time. And I think probably a lot of us are feeling fresher today. I'm filming this on the 17th, and then I usually post the next day. So, so the 17th, I believe it is today. I have no idea. It's like, I'm so losing track of time and days and all these things. So anyway, I think probably a lot of us are feeling like a deeper shift, a deeper level of peace. And so I woke up, I slept 10 hours last night. I went to bed at 9, and I woke up at 9, and I was up for a little bit in the middle of the night. It reminds me of something else I was going to say, but I think I'll wait. I'm not going to interrupt myself. So I I woke up at one point, and I felt this huge, and I completely forgot that I had asked to be in this healing chamber. But I felt this huge wave of like God, goddess, love, unity, perfection, realization, safety. Like I was held in the arms of the goddess. And it came in like a wave as I became aware of it. But what I feel like is I was being shown and held, this is what it feels like to me. I was being shown and experiencing the truth of reality. So in that last reading in the 10 of Cups, there was the big lotus. And I what was coming through with that was, this is the dominant energy on this planet. It's always been the dominant energy on this planet, but it's been diverted. It's like with the ley lines being hijacked through the different structures and monuments, and redirecting the energy, and all of the things that have hidden that over different signals, different frequencies, covering up that signal, distorting it, fragmenting it so that we can't feel it. And so last night I got to feel it. And so, and what I felt was this huge release and huge, so it reminds me of the dream that I was talking about in that last reading with the herd of horses, the wild horses running. And so to me, it felt like this huge collective liberation that was happening in this, and I'm getting chills, this wave of energy coming in. It was like a wave with the horses running through. And then there was the interference, the thing that was in the way. But the thing that was in the way was the white horse, and the white symbolizing, there was, again, everything's in service to the light. So we're clearing these things that are in the way, but the truth of what's going on right now is this huge mass liberation. And so that also makes me think of the Kundalini energy and the release of our life force. And so it's like, again, so coming back to those self-doubts where we're like, I'm not enough, maybe I should do it differently. But no, the soul knows, and the soul has always known you have everything that you need for your exact mission and purpose, and for your exact who you are, your original. So in the last reading, we were getting the Six of Cups, and it was coming through for me as starting to get my channel now. Coming in as the original selves, the return of our original selves, because the Six of Cups is a card of the past. It's a card of nostalgia. So it's like, and then it came out with a card benediction, and that's what I felt I received last night in that healing chamber. Was I'm doing this because it was a hand. It was a hand, and it was the benediction. And so receiving, almost like, here, feel this energy, feel this. Maybe you can feel it through my hand, I don't know. Feel this energy of, this is the hand that move energy work when I do energy work, but feel this energy coming through, the truth of reality, what's coming to meet you, what's calling you back home, what's gifting you yourself back home. And so just knowing that the purges and the clearings that are going on, it's like we're releasing. So again, the Kundalini and the releasing, and the wild horses, and the releasing of our true energetic signature, the truth and the bigness of who we are. And so I did a reading yesterday, and this woman, she's incredibly gifted and incredibly psychic, and she's older, and she had a soul contract with her partner where she sort of stayed within a certain boundaries, but now he's passed, and she's being liberated into the fullness of who she is, into the fullness. So I saw that energy again there, the wild horses, where it's like the things that have been in the way, and a lot of the things that have been in the way have been contracts, soul contracts with other people, things we had to do first, or even the world not being ready for the bigness of all of us. But this is the time when the world is ready, and so we're being assisted to clear those blocks and remove those things. So all of the self-doubt and all of the sort of questioning and the neural implants and all these things focusing on the brain and the head, it's like, this is the seventh seal. This is the last, the last gate before that rising, before that herd of wild horses, and the rising of our Kundalini, releasing that which we are, the truth and the true full force power of who we came here to be. All of us doing that, or more and more and more of us doing that, that is the frequency that changes the world. So the other thing that I'm seeing, so of course that involves the masculine and the feminine and the polarities coming into balance. And again, what I always talk about, that co-creative energy that can only truly come through and it's interesting because when I started this reading, there were a lot of ravens that were having conversation, and I was like, oh, because the ravens always represent going into receiving more magic, receiving more of life, more of the world, going into a greater, higher, more expanded state of consciousness. And so there it is again, where we're freeing the blocks, to that, where we can access. So like in my in that download last night with the truth of the energy, the bigness of the energy, and the truth that we're safe, the truth that we're held, the truth that, and we were talking about this last time too, where everything that comes at us that feels like a negative, or even like people telling their stories, yeah, I was a drug addict, or I was a drug dealer, or I was, fell into darkness and lost myself, or hurt people, or hurt myself, or hurt my children, or whatever it was, just kind of fessing up and being like, and it's okay, I embrace that, I embrace myself, I embrace my journey, because, again, it's like we're untying a very long, tangled knot of distortion that's been around for a very long time, and it takes some of us to go into that darkness to grab that piece and pull it out. And all of us sort of understanding and acknowledging the perfection of our journeys and the perfection of this realm as well, so we don't have to be feeling like a victim, or feeling unsafe, or feeling scared. So a lot of that leaving, and I felt like, I don't know if that energy that came in for me last night, obviously it was a part of me conjuring and inviting that healing chamber and feeling that energy through there. But it also felt collective to me. It felt collective, and it felt related to the horse stream, and it felt related to the energy of everybody kind of, a lot of us going into those doubts, and then not falling prey to them and not abandoning ourselves, but just kind of breathing through them and allowing that alchemy to happen, and clearing that last seal and coming through to bring our energy forward. So I feel that energy I felt last night is the energy of the collective, not just specific for me because I asked for healing. I was being shown what's going on, and it was so big, and it was like unavoidable. Like it was permeating everything. Like nobody can escape this energy, and of course you wouldn't want to, because it's God, it's truth, it's it's that nourishment and coming home. I don't even have words. I don't even have words, and I'm dizzy. I'm dizzy when I tuned into it. So the other thing that I was going to say that I am going to come back to now is there's something also about the noises and the distractions and the interference. So I'm tonal, I'm clairaudient, so I have a channel and I just hear the channel and I just speak it as it comes. I don't channel beings or entities, or I never know who it is, if anybody's there, it's just my higher self, and I click into a zone and I speak and it comes out. And so noises really bother me because I'm tonal, so I'm there's a part of me that's always listening and decoding and hearing and receiving, so noises really bother me. But lately it's been really, really bad. Like at night I haven't been sleeping well because there's just a lot of like loud motorcycles and like this weird roaring engine that happens almost every night. I don't know what the fuck this person is doing, but it's like they just roar their engine, and when I wake up it almost feels like and I guess it's part of my reflection of the unraveling of these, because what it feels like to me is like hell realm, like I'm in the fourth dimension and there's like this roaring demon. That's the energy of it. It's just a car, but it's like this weird interference that's coming in, and then the motorcycles, and then like people that drive a road, because I live sort of off of like a road that goes, it's not like a super busy road, but it goes out of town, so there's more cars than other places. I'm not just in a neighborhood street, I'm on the corner. So there will be these people that like drive up the road with this very loud bass, and they'll go really slow, like creepy slow, and it's just creepy. And so you can hear the bass from far away, and then it comes closer and closer, and then all my windows are single pane, and I have 36 windows in this house. So as they go by, my entire house shakes, and then they go by. It's just like, and I've lived here for 18 years, so it's like this is not necessarily new, the noises and the waking up, but there's something about the quality of the sound right now. And so I know another sister on Facebook was talking about a lot of construction and like scaffolding, and it connected her to something in her past. And so a lot like with the noises and the interference, and having to like really go deep within to find our own sound. And so that's where I feel the noises are like a ding 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 to like notice our own tone, our own sound, our own soul signature, and things being loud, whether it's, and maybe if you're clairaudient and you channel, then it's coming to you through sound, or if you're visual, maybe you're interfacing with a lot of like disturbing visuals or something like that. But it's almost like this sort of onslaught in your biggest clair, or if you have all of them, poor thing, it might be everywhere. But yeah, so anyway, but that just that interference, just that interference through our channels. But again, everything's in service of the light, because so what I did is I turned up, I have this noise machine. I sleep to the sound of a gurgling creek, and it reminds me of being in the forest, and I spend a lot of time by creeks. I can't do ocean because I don't live by the ocean, but I do live and spend a lot of time with creeks. So anyway, I turned it up really loud last night, and so I journeyed with the water, to kind of overcome, and I ended up sleeping, 10 hours. And so, but not only that, not only that, that's a very simple 3D version of everything in service to the light, but it's getting us to have to focus more on ourselves and our own center, so and again, whether there's an attack from a fourth dimensional perspective, there's all kinds of attacks, but they always serve to catalyze us, whether it's catalyze light body activation, if it's a virus, or an attack on our bodies through all the things that are in our air and our water, or the frequencies that are also in the airwaves, or all these things, that it always serves to activate us and bring us home. So even if something is trying to hold us down, it's doing the opposite. It's awakening us, and it's and our bodies and our DNA is kind of like again, the soul knows, it remembers this time where it's like ding ding ding, this is where we activate, this is where we pull in more, this is where we start to metamorphosize. So again, just always those reminders to not be afraid and to not feel like a victim and to not fight or resist anything. Just call on your power and allow your soul and your body and your DNA to do exactly what it needs and knows how to do in these moments. So anyway, yeah, a lot with the noise and the onslaught and the distractions and all these things. But again, helping, or even the triggers, the triggers that are coming up, or the people, and especially if you have a lot of empathic people in your lives, they're going to pick up on the places in you that are literally broadcasting in the field, screaming for assistance, and they're going to play that role. Even if it's somebody that's sort of like a dark magician, and then they're playing the role in a very visible, sort of negative way. But even our dear friends might trigger us at times, or just play this role that's sort of maybe even out of character for them, where you're like, oh, this is weird, but then it's like, oh, thank you. you just help me. You just help me to hold myself and to come home to myself and to claim myself, to seal up that that leak and that boundary and that wounding, like we were talking about last time as well. So okay, I think I'm going to jump into the cards now. There are more things that I was going to say, but they're not coming. So let's see what we get here. Wow, Eagle Spirit. Spirit has your back. There it is again. Your soul knows. Your spirit knows. Everything that's happening is for you, by you, and that's true for everyone. That's true for the world. That's true for your loved ones. So again, that healing chamber being held type of energy where it's like we are relaxing into life, and we're allowing the wisdom of ourselves and of that which supports us, which we are in unity with, to bring us back home. So again, that Six of Cups type of energy from last time, and the benediction, coming back to our true soul signature, our true soul tone, and allowing ourselves full force to come out, and that being the energy that we're in right now. And it can be kind of intense, but again, and I'm getting dizzy again, just having that broader perspective to remind yourself, when you're in a clearing. And that's the thing, when we're in a clearing, we're not seeing the truth of this. We have to feel it to clear it, and we can't really feel it if we're, otherwise we're just kind of spiritually bypassing, like, oh, I see the bigger picture. It's like sometimes you have to go the whole way down to the bottom and crawl through the mud, which is funny because I went to the river the other day and I was swimming on the bottom, and it was so muddy, and there was mud on the bottom, and I would go down to the bottom because there were some deep spots, and I would slide my fingers, my hands, and sometimes my legs and my whole body, along this mud. And I had just been at the ocean, and we were at the aquarium, and we were petting the stingrays, and so like I felt like a stingray on the bottom, but the mud also felt like a stingray, and I was just like, oh my God, and it was so symbolic, because that's kind of what we're doing. It's like we have to feel those things, and when we feel those things, we can feel disconnected from our guides, or from the truth, or from that loving embrace. But we have to disconnect so that we come in and we call it forth, and just kind of knowing that that's a sacred part of the passage, and knowing that when we're down there, where we're like, okay, I know this is for me, and I know this is going to pass, and I know how to do this, but knowing it doesn't mean we're feeling it. Yeah, it's interesting because speaking of that, just I had so much mud in my hair from that day. I washed my hair 5, 6 times before the mud was completely out. Like I'd wash it and I'd wash it twice, and then I'd be like, oh my God, like there's still this in my hair. It's like finally clean just as of last night. But it's kind of like that too. It's like, we're in the mud, and we have so much that we need to wash off. And even when we think we're done, then there's like another round and another round and another round. But it's worth it. It's worth it because we're liberating ourselves, and we are held in this process. Everything that's going on right now is about this. So however that's been presenting for you in your life. So let's see what this card is. Yeah, the Emperor. So there's that power, that extreme empowerment. And the Lion, we're coming out of the Lion's Gate. So some people say that the 16th, which I think was yesterday, was the last of the Lion's Gate portal. So we are coming out, and we're coming out more empowered because we really, really crawled through some mud. And it was intense. And again, a lot, just to reiterate, a lot, again, the crown, the sovereign, the sovereignty, like up the head. We're rewiring our neural pathways because they've been hijacked. We're releasing them, we're seeing them, and we're putting in a new program, we're putting in a new perspective, a new, like what I experienced last night. It's like we're reminding, so my sister and I, that my one that like I was gifted, in this lifetime to do this piece with, because we're so similar, and And she was saying the other day, like, listening to you talk is like listening to myself, and that's how I feel with her as well. And it's so beautiful. And I just forgot what I was going to say because I just felt my love for her. But yeah, what was she saying? Crap, I forget. What were we saying? Oh yeah, we were talking about that, how we've just been seeing and bridging together and building this, like, oh my God, everything is so, this joke, I don't know if you saw that meme that I posted on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, it was like, you spend your whole life trying to exit the matrix until you realize that you are the matrix, and it was these two people just like laughing so hard, and that was like me and her, just like having these realizations together. And then saying, we'll remind each other because you can know this, you can come back to this knowing, like me with the people I was talking about, that that we're reflecting that part of me, and then I collapsed the whole thing. But then another situation comes up in another form, and you might forget again, and you might get mad, and just even having affirmations to remind you, or having conversations with your friends and reminding each other. It's like we're working as a team to reclaim our sovereignty and to rebuild those neural pathways, to replace and repair the things that got fragmented, so that we can have full access to our energy, and so that we can contribute to the world through the full access of our energy and our power and everything we came here to do. And again, this being the time, because earlier in our lives, when we had to be, I don't know, the drug addict is just an example. It's just the easiest one that comes to mind, or in a cult, or whatever it is. When we had that was a contract, and those were things that we had to go through for soul retrieval, or to play out the other side, or to understand the darkness. But now is a time where there's a whole collective of us, which of course is affecting the rest of the collective, that are coming into our sovereignty. So the other thing that's coming to my mind now is I think I was starting to say this, the balancing of the polarities, and that also being reflected in sacred relationship as well. And so there's so much of that I'm seeing right now. It's insane, where the divine counterpart. And so for some people, if you've been on that journey for a while, and you've sort of already had that activation with somebody, and then you separated and you went off into your separate corners, and you had to have your karmic things and your contracts or whatever, there is a bit of a reunion energy right now. Even if it's just like, for me, it's just reconnecting with that person, just having like nice friendly conversations, like just catching up and hearing how we've been, just maybe 20-minute conversations, and a couple different times where it's like there's just this like getting to know each other in a way, or not even that, at this point. It's like it's just kind of weaving back in with that energy, and just dipping in a little bit, because these energies are so powerful. They completely activate you. When you meet somebody that holds that matching frequency of you, it activates you into all those ways that you weren't matched to your own frequency. When you meet somebody that is, it's like, holy shit, just blows you out of the water, where it starts that Kundalini awakening, where you have to go through those 7 gates and do all the clearing and the purging and confront all those things. And for me, it took 7 years, I guess. 7 gates, 7 years. Wow. And so yeah, it's just been the last month or so that me and this person have come back around, where it's completely neutral. Like there's no more like, well, so far there's no more like trigger, whereas before it was like, it would come together and the energies would just be like, every time we'd reconnect, and it'd be like, oh, this fiery Kundalini energy, be like, let's do another one, but this time it just feels really, really neutral, like really, really clear. And so it's interesting. So anyway, and other people that I know that have had that experience, that in these exact same moments, like this one woman, it had been 3 years for me without any contact with this person, and she had the same thing, and it had been 3 years for her, and within the same month, we both had recontact with this person, you know what I mean? So there's definitely collective movement. And then other people might be experiencing the separation and the purging right now. It might be starting for them, but it's part of the sacred path, where you activate each other, and then eventually that stuff starts to come up. And a lot of us know this, and I don't like to use the word twin flame. I think it's been completely hijacked, and I know people that are absolutely not even really on a spiritual journey or any kind of alchemical real deal crawl in the mud type of journey, but they've met their twin, so to me, I'm just turned off by the whole thing, and yeah, but just to throw that out, for reference, right? So, and because a lot of people, understand the journey, or have looked at that through the whole phases, and the running and the chasing, and the and the surrender, and then the unification, and all that. And a lot of that is really hijacked, and a lot of that just keeps people looping in lower energy, and it's just the whole thing. It's just like, ugh, I've just trashed it. I've just trashed it, and I'm just staying with my own unique experience, but noticing the patterns, noticing the patterns, and noticing the frequency. Like, I can tell when I read for people, if they come in as a couple, like before they even sit down, I can feel in the energy field that they're on that journey to some degree, or another. Yeah, and of course, anyway, so I'm going to move on from that, but just seeing a lot of that, and you might be experiencing that in your own life as well. So, all right. See what else we get here. I'm at 35 minutes. The Two of Cups. Yes, that's exactly what I was just talking about. So I guess it does sort of want to go there again. That counterpart kind of energy, and again, seeing the weaving, and it's really about, and I'm getting dizzy again, wow, it's really about that, the currents, the currents within us, the masculine and the feminine, the polarities weaving together and being in harmony together. And when you have that going on within yourself, then you're going to pull in a match to that, and often it will be that person that does match you, that's matched you all along, but you didn't quite, or a person, and that I don't know, and that's why I was sort of like choking up on my words, because I'm just going off of my own experience, and I have experienced other people where I felt that sort of activation energy, but it wasn't the same as this person. It wasn't the same as the person that activated me. I don't know if that means that there's something very specific with he and I in terms of frequency. I've trashed that whole paradigm, that whole teaching, that whole thing. I'm just discovering as I go. But at any rate, so maybe it comes through in different people. Maybe it's the return of the person that activated you, that you first felt it with. I don't know. But here's the Two of Cups, and I'm just going to move on from there. I'm still unraveling a lot of this for myself. Okay, fine. So the Three of Pentacles, so there is that soul contract, that contract that you have with certain people in your life, and and there's a script, and so there's that symphony as well. So I don't know if you can see from this card. I'll post it in the comments, but it's like a scroll. Yeah, there it is, the scroll. And so she's reading the scroll. They have an agreement. They sign it up. Okay, so at this point, at this juncture, you're going to go do this, and I'm going to go do this, and then at another juncture, we're going to recommune and kind of swap notes, swap files. What have you learned? What have you learned? And then we might go off again. Just certain people that you journey with throughout your life doesn't necessarily mean you come together in a romantic way, or you stay together in a romantic way. But look, there's the caduceus again, the weaving and the weaving. But it is about your activation. It is about your spiritual journey. It is about you coming home to yourself. So those are the most powerful connections, the ones that reflect you in a way that just rocks you into awakening, and puts you on that journey. And journeying probably throughout your lifetime. I'm feeling from these cards it really wants me to just channel it. Get out of the way, Wendy. But throughout your lifetime being on this spiritual journey together, however that presents, whether there's lots of distance and just sort of telepathic astral connection, or whether there's just nothing for periods, or whether there's just an amazing connection that's activating, or a slow kind of getting to all the different ways that it can come. This being a person or persons that you're contracted to work with, for humanity as well, because when we purify ourselves, and we purify, and another purifies themselves in relation to your energy, that's rippling out. It's rippling out. You're healing the entire feminine and masculine collective, and in holding space for one person, that you've been assigned to, you're holding space for all of humanity. For me, this person is the one that I learned unconditional love with, and because everybody else, it's like they just didn't really match me, or they didn't really do it for me, and it was just like, okay, just toss it, who cares, doesn't matter, sorry, no offense to anybody, but it's just like, when it's done, like, thank you, and but it wasn't like this with this person. It was like so deep, and I saw so behind into the journey of awakening, and the purpose and the collective, and it's just, I got just taken up into the higher realms and downloaded the whole picture, and so, it was like there was that unconditional understanding, that broader perspective. And now I have that for everyone. It's how I healed my relationship with my ex-husband, how my kids healed, how I healed with my son and my daughter healed, my daughter and my ex. It was through that unconditional love that I learned through that divine counterpart journey. And so So anyway, and that being the gift to the world, where you feel those higher frequencies and you integrate them into yourself, you heal yourself through it, you heal your karmic relationships through it, and it ripples out. And so in that unconditional love as well, you're holding space for the entire distorted feminine collective, the entire distorted masculine collective, and so we're working it together. And it's a really big service. Not everybody has that. Not everybody has signed up for that type of service, and that's where it can be like where everybody's like, oh, my twin, like, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, but some of us have, and some of us are working these collectives and we're working them together, and that's where you can see those parallels, like those, like that woman that I talked about, and it was even the exact same time frame. I think there are kind of 3-year cycles. I've noticed that 3-year cycles with this journey, and which is interesting. When I was singing to the ocean, I found myself, I kept saying 31. I was saying 31. I don't know why. I was just singing 31, 31. It was coming out in a certain way. And then it landed on 1, 1, 1. And it just, when I sat with that, just the code I got from it was the 3 and the 3, 6, 9, and the moving forward, and the 3 of Pentacles, and the contract, and the masculine, the feminine, the mother and the father and the child, and the one and so the 1 and the 1 equals 3, and all these things. And so there's some coding in that, and the weaving. All right, something that might have been something for somebody else too. Let me keep going here. Yeah. So the 5 of Swords, yeah, and there's the distortions, and all the distortions that we're clearing. And a lot of it comes from that can be a card of spiraling, where like you're afraid to get hurt or to hurt another. So it can be like a panic, and you want to control, and you can fragment. You fragment into the mind, and you want to figure it out, and but really it is about a clearing. So when that energy comes up again, in connection to these connections or whatever it is, if it's not a counterpart situation, there's still contracts and things that you have in your life that again are bringing up this kind of energy. So just reiterating that, the clearing. Okay, let me go down and do the next row underneath here. Beauty. That's interesting. Beauty. It makes me think of the goddess energy and the beauty way, what we call the beauty way, where in contrast to being in the mind and trying to figure things out from the mind, which just separates you from the whole, where then you go into those conditioned neural pathways, and you go in, which is good, because if you're conscious of that, and especially in these energies, like I was saying, where a lot of the overlays and the programs and the inception point of that fragmentation, what's holding us in that fragmentation, because it's like the true nature of the earth, the true nature of our bodies, the true nature of our souls is to naturally heal. You look at nature, it just naturally heals, and water, it just goes around the bend, and it goes under the rock, and it freezes, and then it thaws, and that's the natural way. But a lot of the distortions have been plugged in with the frequencies and with the different things that get lodged in our bodies and our cells and all that, and all of that, and so it keeps us away from the truth, which is this beauty way, which is again the symphony, coming back to the symphony, coming back to being held in the arms of the goddess, and that everything is for you, and so rewiring, coming out of this sort of headspace and surrendering and coming back, knowing. And so this is coming out under Spirit has your back. Spirit has your back, because this is the truth, the beauty way, the feminine way, the right brain way, reading the synchronicities, reading the signs, reading the dreams, following the flow, listening to the inner listening, and just giving that mind a hug, giving that part of you those neural pathways, because we're just unraveling them, and we're reprogramming them, and not believing them anymore, not falling for them anymore, and that is definitely getting easier, I feel, and in waves, for a certain collective, but then as that collective anchors into this energy, then that is what is broadcasted even louder in the field, which I think is what is already happening. And then the next group of people that come through to do this, it's easier for them. And so the front runners, the front waves, the first wavers, whatever, however you want to say it, going through and kind of carving the way, but being well on our way. Humanity is well on our way into this. So, wow. Okay, so underneath the Emperor is the void, and so there it is again. That's where we access our power. That's where we access our true energetic signature, is in that void space. And often the void space, when we get taken out away from our guides, or our voice, or our clarity, or our perception, or our tools. None of our tools work anymore. We're just in our void space. That's where you're in the dark. And I had a dream once where I was in the dark, and I didn't know where I was. and I was all alone, and it was exactly like this. And then somebody lit a candle, and I was on a boat, and I was in the bottom part of the boat, and somebody lit that candle, and really that candle being what's lighting is yourself. You know, when you're in the dark and you call out and you can't see anything and you don't know where you are, and then you ignite from within. And in the dream, I was guided to go up to the top of the boat, and I went out, and I've told this dream before, but it was a while ago, and I know a lot of people that watch are new. And so the boat was going underneath this grove of trees. It felt like I was in India, and on the trees were these huge fruits. They were kind of like guavas or papaya, avocado, soft fruits. It was soft like an avocado, but sweet like nothing I'd ever tasted. And I pulled it off the branch, and like often in our dreams where we're gifted something, we're like, oh, am I allowed to have this? Like, this seems too much. Am I stealing? And they're like, no, that's your gift. That's the gift that you receive when you spark your own light in the dark. You know, you're not leaning on any tools. You're not leaning on anyone. You're drowning in the dark. You're in the mud. You're under water, and you remember that you're a mermaid and you can breathe, and you remember who you are, and you regain. That's how we regain our soul signature and our true tone, you know. And so again, this really being in service, and even the onslaught of all the attacks being in service, because again we were in amnesia. We were really in the dark. We had forgotten, and we need catalysts. We need catalysts to make us want to fight, to crunch us, you know, so that we call out to our own soul, and we're answered, you know, we're answered by our own soul. And that's part of our contract as well, to come here to do that. It's part of what's written, you know, within our own self. Again, the soul knows what it's doing. So that's really beautiful. Okay, I'm going to do my Slavic tarot here. All right, the Knight of Cups. Okay, so there it is, the Holy Grail. This has come through as my Holy Grail card, and it's part of your mission, and it's part of what you're doing here. And you have your cup and you have your grail, and you're carrying it the whole way home. It's what you're here for. Again, it's what you're here for. And what's interesting is it's coming out under the Two of Cups. So you know, a lot of people that have this mission, you know, where you are bringing yourself back home the whole way. We do have. In fact, my friend that I always talk about, we say that we're twins, you know, but without any of the like sexual magnetism, because we're both straight as an arrow. But you know, we kind of make that joke, but I also think it's true. You know, we came in again, our soul family, and certain people that we have deep contracts with, where we're doing this piece together, because it's a heavy load. You know, it's a heavy load, and you need more than one. You know, you need more than one of you. You need a whole team. And I feel a lot of us that resonate with these readings, we're part of that. You know, we're part of this team. Or part of this team, and some of them might be more intimate or more interwoven with you, but that there's a whole crew of us. There's a whole crew of us doing this, because it's a big mission, and we're carrying all. And so a lot of the things about like, oh, I'm not good enough. So it wasn't just like, oh, I should be more feminine and more flowy and stuff like that. It was also like, I'm inherently wrong. Like my friend that was like, I'm shit. Like I went through that too, where I was like, I'm not doing anything right, and I'm worthless, and I'm just, you know, and then I was like, well, hold on, worthless at what? Like worthless at the world, at the game? Because that's a hijack, and that's a lie. If you look at what you're good at, you're hugely successful in soul and in mission, and in not being duped into things or getting stuck in programs. And you know, it's like you don't fit in, and you never got anything right in this world, but you preserved that cup. You were keeping that cup steady that entire time, and that's hugely successful. So that's the other thing, you know, in terms of that self-worth, just like realizing that a lot of us came here to do something different, and we came to bridge into this higher realm. And again, when you spark from within and you get your energy intact, and you have, now this is like my caduceus, my kundalini type of card, when you have that within yourself, you do attract that, you know, in your outer world. So it's like when I went up and I had that fruit, it's like, you know, the agreement when we came here, our birthright was we were going to bring our unique soul signature. We were going to come down, and our souls were going to work through us, and we were going to plant our seeds and you know, contribute our thing, and we were going to be provided for because of that. But then what happened was we got distorted, and we forgot, and we got all weird, and we were out of our own unique flow and our own alignment, and so we weren't receiving. So then we had to play the game. We had to play the game that was offered to us, which was just this weird enslavement separation consciousness. And then that enslavement separation consciousness kept us from having the time to be able to receive and to come home to ourselves, but when we do come home to ourselves and we do make that time, and now we kind of have to, it's like this stuff is coming up to be seen and cleared, and it's releasing. And even if you have a job or you have a thing, it's like you might be up all night doing this work, because you can't get away from it. And which is really wonderful, because now we're coming back into the truth. Those things are getting out of the way, where we can receive our true tone, our true soul signature, and we're able to bring that forward, and then we're going to be provided for, because that was the original agreement. And that's heaven on earth, where we're all living and we're all receiving from that alignment, from that transmission, from that contained energetic signature, that and then becomes magnetic, and we pull in, and again, we've been separated from that, and there have been control systems in place to keep us separated from that, but it's unraveling. So super exciting. Let's see what comes out underneath the Three of Pentacles. Wow, medicine woman, exactly. So the medicine woman, and the feminine energy within us does lead. The feminine energy, the soul energy leads. So even in our soul contracts, it's like allowing whether you're a man or a woman, allowing your guidance and your sovereignty and your spidey senses. We're not living from our minds. We're not living from agenda. We're not living from a plan. It doesn't work in these frequencies and in these contracts that we're having. We're all living from that medicine woman within us, and we're allowing this scroll to be read by our souls, so that it can play out through us. It can play out through us in collaboration with others, because that's been written too. Not only does your soul know what it's doing, their soul knows what you're doing. Our souls know what we're doing, the souls of the collective. And there's a lot of weaving and synchronicity and magic going on between a lot of us. I love Facebook for that reason. I know for a lot of people it's a really negative thing, and and it can be for me too. But just the real positive of it, a lot of us have found our soul families, and we're finding magic. We're finding magic through the synchronicities and through the support and through seeing other people living and feeling like you do. We're finding our crew and our team. So okay. So I'm going to do one last card. I'm going to do another goddess card, actually, because there's so much goddess energy right now. Again, that energy leading. Okay. So we're ending on divine wisdom, and I feel that's just kind of driving that point home. But what I'm noticing is that lit up crown. So there's that seventh seal, just like boom, and there's that divine wisdom and Sophia. So we're coming home. The earth is coming home. We're coming home to that heaven on earth thing, where we're that heaven on earth thing. I'm getting tired and I need to eat. But 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is 7 and 4 claps, or add up into 11. I don't collapse it down, because 11 is 11. And so there's that portal energy that we're walking through into this higher timeline, into our higher timelines. And as we do that, again, as I've been saying, we have to do some clearing. We're clearing out that last seal, that last gateway, coming into this empowerment. And again, spirit has our back. Our souls have our back. We're living through the beauty way. We're surrendering. We're living through our soul. We're living, and we're doing it in collaboration with others. A lot of emphasis right now on those soul contracts. And there was a bit that came up around the divine counterparts, and that might be true for you, but also just with our sisters or our brothers, and those our soul family on our soul monad, and it's getting really, really big. And I think that's a lot of what I was feeling last night, was the bigness, just the bigness of what we're doing, the energy that we're building. It's getting really big, and it's all encompassing. And again, that's that feminine, that soul energy leading, because it's starting to take hold. And that's what I felt like. Nobody can get away from this. Like, this is permeating everything. It's permeating into everything. And it's a good thing. But if you are sort of in this energy and you're attached to it, or maybe you've built an empire with it and you have a lot of power and control, you probably wouldn't be watching this reading. But for those people, it's not going to be fun. It's going to crumble. Anything that's out of alignment with the truth, this beauty way, is going to be jostled and is going to crumble. And you're going to have to do that work. They're going to have to do that work. But it's beautiful. It's all held. It's all held again in that goddess energy, that divine wisdom, that divine knowing, and a lot of us holding and transmitting that energy, as well as all of humanity comes back home. So that's a really powerful reading. I'm going to end there. I'm at 54 minutes. Thank you for listening and for joining in consciousness on these energies. And holy shit, it's like, yeah, again, it's like I can feel all of us. I can feel us, those of us working these energies, and it's like we're exponentially expanding. It's like what I do inside of me is mirroring what you're doing inside of you, and we're all kind of doing different pieces too. I feel we're doing it in our own unique ways, but it's this puzzle piece where we're all working the same collective and these same energies, and we need each other. We need each other. That's why we signed up for this at this time, and that's why we're finding each other at this time. So thank you so much, just in joining and listening and communing. And we commune in the comments, or we might talk later, or it's we're building this energy. We're putting our attention on it, and we're rebuilding those neural pathways together, and reminding each other together every day in our posts, and every day in our sharings, and every day in seeing ourselves in each other. And it's just, I'm so grateful. So thank you for all of you for being here, and for connecting with me. So okay, much love. Bye.